Brenda Northey to talk about the last prong in Viktor Frankl's meaning-based framework. So this is a series that is geared towards veterans and to military members who are looking to find greater purpose and to find out a little bit more about themselves, their own personal identity. So the last couple of videos, I've talked about the experiential prong, and I've also talked about the creative prong. This week is the final prong, and that's called attitudinal shift. Now, attitudinal shift is very powerful. It's also a very big area. So it's something that's pretty difficult to talk about in a short video, but I am going to try and address a couple of ways that you can move forward by looking at attitudinal shift. So let's explain, when we're talking about attitudinal shift, in many cases, Frankl was talking about people and their suffering and how to add greater meaning to their suffering. So instead of dwelling upon what it is that's going on within you, is to be able to look at that suffering from a different perspective. So I was reminded of that actually this morning when I was giving blood, and I was talking to a man who was telling me his story, and it sounded pretty bad. Another woman came in beside and went on and actually dominated the conversation because everything was going wrong in her health. And as a result, we listened to this story and we recognized that perhaps our own suffering was minor compared to hers. And it reminds me of a saying that people have, that don't talk about your own suffering because there's always somebody else in the group that will have more suffering. So it isn't about saying forget your suffering, but it is about trying to look at your suffering a little differently. Viktor Frankl, when he was talking about attitudinal shift, gave as an example when he was in the concentration camp, and he was always observing this one man who seemed to be able to handle all the workload, the starvation. He seemed to be able to handle it quite well. So one day he asked him, how is it that you were able to cope in this situation? And the man said, well, every day I remind myself how grateful I am that it is me that's suffering and not my wife. So that was how he was able to cope and how to deal with his own suffering. So in the attitudinal, there's a couple of examples that you could try, and one that I actually tend to use myself, and it's called the Grateful Journal. And it's one that's out there. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that. But at the end of the day, what it is, it's about just trying to find some things in your life that you are grateful for. And it can be the smallest items. It doesn't have to be that you succeeded in running a marathon. It could be as much as I wrote in just a couple of days ago. I almost locked the door of my car with my keys inside, and just at the last minute I remembered. So I was grateful that I did remember, because all I could think about, it was probably another hour or 2 hours out of my day waiting for somebody to come and open up my car door. So again, it could be something as simple as that. It also could be something that's grateful. You're grateful for one of your plants growing or flowers flowering, or you're grateful that your coffee, you were able to enjoy that taste a little bit more that day. Grateful that you saw somebody that you hadn't seen for a while. When you start looking at your day at the very end and you're commenting to yourself how grateful you are for certain things, it starts to alleviate your suffering. It stops you from constantly thinking about what it is that's wrong with your life. So that's just one area. I've based, if you're looking to find a little bit more purpose and a little bit more information about yourself, I've written a book, Operation Who Am I? It's available currently on Amazon. As well, you can check out our website at www.operationwellbeing.ca. And on this website, we actually have a workshop, a couple of them. One of them, though, is an intense challenge that we've opened up to any veteran in North America. And within 8 days, you really go through a lot of the exercises and you challenge yourself to find out a lot more. But at the end of the 8 days, you should feel good about yourself. So for more resources, if you want to go in more depth and find out a little bit more about meaning, I think I've mentioned as well, you can check out Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. but also I will begin a new section which is looking at personal identity and trying to give you a couple of tips on how you can learn a little bit more about yourself. So until next time.